Hello, good evening, you guys, and welcome to Real Talk with Tamara. As you guys come into the room, please do hit the like button. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel. I hope that you guys are doing okay. I know that I am. I always express the importance of hitting the like button because the like button helps to keep the video on the algorithm. So make sure you guys please like, share, subscribe, comment, all of those great things. You guys, I was going to do a live tonight, but I just finished doing a history exam, and the teacher is really just overwhelming. Okay, you have to do two essays before you can even ever turn the exam in, the test in. Two two 500, so two 500-word essays, and I got a poem that was due yesterday. I forgot hell. So I got to be up all night. Thank God I don't have to work tomorrow doing a damn original poem. Okay. So just happened to pick my head up from all of this work I've been doing today, and I happened to see that they just posted Govan's attorney did a little interview, okay? And he's saying that Govan's charges are highly suspicious, and he truly believes that it is payback for the state losing the case on Govan last year. They're already throwing some stuff in the game because I think they know something bigger. They're preparing for something bigger because I don't think that Govan goes back to court until August, and I think they're going to try to get him a bond or something like that. So August, the middle of August, so they're trying to hold him in there for 2 months. That's how you know it is something else going on. But I mean, we've been knowing that this was a long time coming, and I'm gonna get into what I think is going on, but let's listen to what his attorney says. Okay, y'all make
The man acquitted of being the mastermind behind the murder of Memphis rapper Young Dolph sits in a federal lockup tonight, charged with cyber stalking. His attorney talked exclusively with Action News 5 Joyce Peterson tonight about new charges. And Joyce is now live for us. Joyce, does he think the feds went after him because he beat the rap in the Young Dolph case?
Well, that's certainly a question many are asking tonight, Andrew. Attorney Claiborne Ferguson stopped short of saying that Govan's latest legal troubles are payback for the Shelby County DA's office losing its case against him in the Young Dolph murder trial. But he said it is, quote, highly suspicious.
Do you think he was the mastermind of Young Dolph's murder?
Claiborne Ferguson is Hernandez Govan's new attorney for the new cyber stalking charges he faces. Arrested June 11th by Memphis police on state stalking and harassment charges, a misdemeanor, Govan was released the next day on a $4,000 bond. 12 hours later, he was arrested by federal authorities on the same charges, which carry a 5-year prison sentence in the federal system.
That is wildly unusual, especially on something that it would be charged and is charged as a misdemeanor in state court. Somebody had to really go out of their way in order to get that done.
Govan was acquitted of murder charges last year in the shooting death of young Dolph, accused by prosecutors of being the mastermind behind the crime. Telling Action News 5,
it's hard to explain the feeling of knowing you got your life back. And it's one of the best feelings I ever experienced, and I'm just happy to be free.
Govan isn't free anymore after a federal magistrate ordered him held in custody, believing him to be a real danger to his ex-girlfriend, who had Memphis police and the National Guard protecting her home and her child. The feds say he threatened to shoot up her home because she owed him $540, calling and texting saying, "The National Guard can watch your house all day. I don't give an expletive about no police, National Guard, or nothing." The criminal complaint said Govan also threatened to post explicit photos of her on social media. All the threats made on the same day.
One of the things that we were looking at in the bond hearing was whether or not alcohol was involved, and that as the day went on, he lost more control over his decision making.
Ferguson's focus now, helping his client beat these charges, just like Govan did in the Young Dolph case.
Do you think he was the mastermind behind Young Dolph's murder?
I don't know, but I do support the jury's verdict and believe that they came to the correct decision.
Ferguson also tells me tonight that Manny Aurora, the high profile attorney out of Atlanta who successfully represented Govan in the Young Dolph murder trial, may be asked to help out in this case, too. The next step is asking the judge to reverse her decision to keep him behind bars. Live tonight in downtown Memphis, Joyce Peterson, Action News.
Why would they need Manny Aurora for a case like that, cyber stalking that only carries about 5 years? I told y'all that it's something else that's going on. And I believe this is just what I believe. I believe that something else is going on. Some people probably have been talking because Govan has been basically, as someone in my chat said, he's been putting out who did what, who killed who, just like he talked about knowing who took out Big Jug. He says that TZ was not killed by any ops. Okay. Um, so if he wasn't killed by ops, that means he was killed. It was friendly fire. As a matter of fact, he said it. He said TZ's unalive and was friendly fire. That's exactly what he said. He said it was friendly fire. So his words verbatim. Okay. So just speaking all of this out, I believe that other people have been coming forward. There's no telling what this young lady knows. And I think they're keeping him locked up, okay, so that people can feel comfortable enough to help them to do whatever it is that they're doing. Because if he's out, I think folks feel like folks are going to come up unalive, okay? So they're talking about getting Manny. I told you all that when these federal indictments drop, I told y'all they work on getting something else. I said before, didn't I tell you all? I said, you all are stuck on Young Dolph case. It's other things that, these people have been out in the street. They have other skeletons in their closet. And y'all need to look at, if they can't get you for one thing, they will get you for another. Okay. So he's been putting stuff out there. So I'm sure people have been, putting some stuff out there about him also. Now, to think about bringing Manny in, Manny is a very expensive attorney. So we know now B Mills and Yo Gotti and them paying for that attorney. And they gonna do it. They're gonna bring Manny in again because Quet ain't got it. Okay, so that Quet won't tell. He had already said that Yo Gotti needs to have a conversation with him, and B Mims, the closest thing to Yo Gotti, he had access to. They don't want him to talk. But as I told you all, I said, let me tell y'all something. Okay. I said, Manny Aurora is not going to be able to come into Memphis and win another case. I said, if he has to come back, it'll be on a federal type situation. I work with those federal prosecutors all day, every day. It's a different ball game. The federal prosecutors and the federal judges, those are different types of animals. Okay, those are different types of animals, and they play just as dirty. Okay, they are very experienced, and they play dirty. Okay, just as Manny Aurora does. They are just as crafty. They are just as manipulative. No offense, they are just as experienced. Okay, no judges, them old white federal judges over there, they're not gonna let him come up in there and call them stupid. Okay, I don't, they just ain't, because they want. Lord forgive me, because because I'm gonna tell you something. Man, Aurora is not a white man, okay? And I don't mean no harm. He's not. So them old white judges ain't gonna let him come in there and call him stupid, because I believe some of them look like they just came from a meeting, a KKK meeting, okay? You see what I'm talking about? So they play just as dirty over there, and they will sustain every objection that the attorneys throw out there because they all works together. Okay, so but why would you be bringing Manny Aurora into something like this? Manny Aurora is very expensive. He's a good attorney. That's a good attorney he got right there. That old white man is a good attorney. Okay, and they're already trying to put into the atmosphere that he was drunk. Okay, that so that he can get out and have to go to AAA meetings. That's the route that attorney is going. I'm telling you, he's an alky, and let him out. Okay, he was inebriated. Let him go out and let him go on and go to some AAA. But see, there's other plans, and they went ahead and snatched him up because hopefully, I believe if they keep him, they working on the time schedule. And ain't nobody told me this. I'm just thinking in my head. Okay, they're probably working on a timer, and they're hoping that they can have what they need by August. Okay, by the time he go to court, so that they can drop something else. That's the reason why B Mims and them gonna work hard to get Manny them in, but they're gonna put their foot in their mouth and their butt this time if they do it. Okay, because they had already assessed the situation. I'm talking about those federal prosecutors, those FBI agents. They been on this. They already know the games that they're gonna play, and we're gonna try to figure. I don't think man Aurora gonna be able to say too many more times that he doing this stuff pro bono, especially when his he said he did a pro bono, and his client forgets and wants to brag about how much money he paid him, and then put the amount of how much the hotel costs, the flight costs, and put it out there how much he had just paid, all the money he had just paid. you know um, that's an oxymoron. They're gonna have to be in agreement on some of them lies. I don't think Manny gonna, how much more minimal, like he gonna get himself in trouble telling all these lies about taking these pro bono cases. He dealing with the feds this time, and I think Manny is I used to see Manny. He wouldn't speak to you to save his life. Okay, when I be up there on the floor, and he was up there. Maybe he was just focused, but he kept his nose in the air. Okay, and he could walk through. You speak to him, hello. He look at you, and you know, and- but the prosecutor did too. The one that Govan called Miss Carla, he calls her on a first name basis. I don't know why she had her nose in the air, piss poor as her work was. How she pitiful as she was in that courtroom. She all been had her shades and hat on and scarf trying to hide herself. But she was like that too. Okay. Because I walked into the restaurant with her child and was standing right there in the mirror next to her washing my hands. As she was washing hers, I said, oh hello. And she looked at me like I was garbage. Okay. But the truth of the matter is she was garbage in the courtroom, right? Anyways, this is gonna be interesting. Round two is gonna be interesting. And I mean, they may get him a bond. I mean, his attorney is already trying to play games, but I think the federal prosecutors had already assessed all of this, and they got the A team working with them. I think it's the A team working with the federal prosecutors, because y'all do know that the FBI got different teams. Okay, they got the A team, they got B team, the C team, um, they got the gang team. I think they got the A team and the okay, and probably a gang team too. Okay, working, been on this with Govan. So it's interesting, that Manny Aurora is getting ready to come back for the federal prosecutors to drag him. It ain't gonna be a slam dunk this time. It ain't gonna be a slam dunk. And it's gonna look real bad for Manny Aurora. But see, you're gonna have to go to the courtroom because I'm gonna put on TV. It's gonna look real bad for Manny Aurora to come back into Memphis, quote unquote, just for a misdemeanor. Well, they've made it a felony of cyber stalking to represent him and get whoop cat raggedy. Okay. But I do believe that this is a smoke screen to man. He's gonna need him. Okay, they're gonna need him. But I think this is they're trying to hold him over for a couple months until they can airtight whatever the big thing is that's going on. And these fools gonna get themselves caught up trying to pay for attorneys and stuff. Okay. You know, man, it got to be paid. I just wonder who gonna pay him. Okay. Anyway, y'all, this is interesting. Okay. This is very interesting. So we definitely gonna keep our eyes on this. But I told you all, listen, I don't be trying to toot my horn, but toot toot. There ain't no federal case going on. I said, okay. All right. Well, the people are always watching. I'm gonna tell y'all something. I know people be thinking like when I ain't on here, I'm doing my schoolwork. Looking at other avenues of how to get some real money. Okay, but you can't take away the fact that I started out working in the criminal justice system in 2000. Okay, and through that career, my career, I've met a lot of people. I worked for the police department for a total of 18 years. So of course, I garnered a lot of close relationships. Okay. There are a couple people I've been friends with since 2000. Okay. Tight relationships. We talk every day. It just so happens they're high ranking officials now. They've earned their stripes. They've earned their brass. Okay. You think about it, they started off as patrolmen and sergeants when we first met. And through the years, okay, now they are, colonels and chiefs and stuff. So a colonel friend of mine, y'all know that's they're right up under a chief. Okay. A step down from a chief, the highest at the precinct. I wouldn't think that he would even be paying attention, but he called me the day Ratchet interview came out, and I had just did a video on it, but this is how he is though, because he didn't say anything, but he said, um, that guy Govan did an interview, and he said that he knew who Big Jook killers were. I said, oh, okay, yeah, I did a video on that. He said, oh, okay. And that's just how he is. He said, oh, okay. And he didn't say another word. He changed the subject. But me knowing him the way that I know him, he says things for a reason, but he just don't get into stuff. He said it just like one day he called me out of the blue and we was talking. He said, so yeah, Howard Barnett, that's how he is. He brought up Howard Barnett. He said, yeah, so Howard Barnett, yeah. They going back out there. I was like, oh, okay. Um, talking about doing another search out there. And he brought up he that's how he is. Okay. He'll just randomly bring up something and not get into it. Okay. He'll just randomly. I've always felt like he do that to I don't know why he do it, but he gonna bring it up to let you know I saw that. I know that. And then he ain't gonna talk about it. Okay. And so the day that Ratchet interview came out, he said, yeah, so Govan. I said, yeah, he said, he did an interview and he said, he know who Big Jug murderers are. I said, yeah, I did a video on that. He said, oh, okay, yeah. He said, oh, okay. He ain't said nothing else about it. He changed the subject. Okay. Child, please. So if he saw it and he's so, I think he's so, I love him. He's so weird. Okay. If he saw it and very nonchalant, that's how he is. Real paramilitary, real nonchalant. Um, then a whole lot of other people saw it. Okay. So, you know, he's the same one that called me one day and asked me, did I know about, and it started, the conversation was weird as always when he wanted to insert something. He said, yeah, Tamara, you know what a RICO is, right? I said, yeah. This man been a police officer for 37 to 38 years. I said, yeah. He said, he's a teacher. He likes to teach too, okay? And he started being detailed about why RICOs were started, okay? He went into John Gotti, and it's hard to point out just one person. So they got the RICO started because all you have to do is just prove really that there is a criminal organization, because it's hard to pinpoint one person. He gave me that lecture, and then he said, now I said all that to say this. Your Gotti them ain't necessarily got away. And then he ain't say nothing else. You talk about a motherfucker that's a colonel, that's been there 37, 38 years, and I'm supposed to believe and listen to what the people on the street say. I trust him. I believe what he say. I take his lead on stuff, okay? Because he would know. But anyway, this is going to be interesting with Govan, okay? This is going to be very interesting. Oh, yeah. And that's his precinct is out east. He's over that whole precinct. That's how I know what the inside details of why it was so much security out there as it relates to Big Chook. When everybody else had these fake theories, I knew the truth. Okay. Anyways, you guys, we're gonna see what goes on with Govan. Okay. This is interesting. I believe they're trying to hold him while they build. And by the time it's that bond hearing or whatever they got going on, he got a hearing in August. um they can drop, they'll have other charges. I think that's what's going on. They got to keep him off the street while they build it, as everybody might be dead. I mean, I hate to put it like that. You have to laugh to keep him crying, but I mean, that's kind of what happened in the Young Dolph case. Allegedly, that's what you heard people to say. So I don't know though. It's gonna be interesting. Okay. Anyways, you guys, I want you all to please like, share, and subscribe. If you would like to support the channel, you could definitely support the channel via Cash App. Talk to you later.